privileged to have a very special, as they said, like halo halo. It's a very special guest for today, and he's currently in Atlanta, I think in Georgia, but we'll find that out or verify that. And he is not a it doesn't really he doesn't really needs an introduction, especially for the Filipinos abroad or in the Philippines, because he's been a YouTube sensation for quite a while, and he's been in Manila for a while, and there's so many things to talk about. And he is one of those that people were asking his whereabouts, and well, lucky for us, he is the star, well, one of the stars of this wonderful BL series Stay. So ladies and gentlemen, will let me introduce to you the very famous Sebastian Castro. Hi, Seb. How are you?
Hi, nice to see you guys. I'm in Atlanta right now, and thank you for having me.
Well, Seb, first question. Your real name is Benjamin Brian Castro.
Opo.
Okay, and then the thing is, where did Sebastian came from? Was that was it a screen name given to you by a production company, a network, a manager? Because everybody's asking me Brian, because I know you go either by Seb Castro or Brian Castro. But when we did our research, it's Benjamin Brian Castro.
Opo. So, so I was named after my dad, for starters.
Oh,
And since I was younger, I guess I didn't like that. I wanted my own name.
yeah,
So I I went by my middle name since I was a kid. And my middle name, like you said, is Brian.
yeah.
Well, a lot of people called me Brian growing up. And then when I entered show business, I felt like I wanted to just claim my own identity, just start from scratch, be somebody that I was making, that I was becoming. And at that time, I happened to be at a dinner party and I met a friend named Queen Mello. So she knows a thing about picking beautiful names, Queen Mello. And I gave her like the first few names that came to my mind. She's like, "You're just Sebastian. It's just you. Everything about you says Sebastian." And I remember just feeling that it felt right. And so I went from that point onward. And it's really common in show business to have like a name that's given to
Screen
you
name.
or
Right.
assigned.
Yeah.
But for me, I picked Sebastian. So I've never felt like it was a product or something fake. It felt more me than anything else was me. Like, so,
Now let's clarify this, because when I was doing my research, they said that you were born in Oceanside, New York, or Long Island, New York. Which one?
Oceanside, I
Yeah.
believe. I always get confused with my brother because, I can't remember.
Are you from
But
a big family, Sebastian or Seb?
the average size American family, we're three. I have my mom, my dad, and an older sister, younger brother.
So you're a middle child.
I am the middle child, yeah.
Join the club.
Middle children, we all right.
Yeah, well, we do well. They said we always manage to do well.
I
Now,
have my daughter in my hands today. This is Suma.
yeah, from summa cum laude. Isn't it interesting?
Yes. High performing dog in
You
life.
had Summa for how long?
She was originally my family's dog, a pet dog, but I ended up being the one that took her in, fed her, took care of her. And I think I needed something to take care of during COVID.
Yeah.
So
Well,
she's already,
one of the things that I noticed in some of the write-ups that I read and some of the interviews, it says you're a singer, but I have not seen any video you singing. Is that correct?
I am more identify as an actor. I first became noticed, I believe, by people because of a viral music video I did called Bubble. Bubble was something I did when I first came out. I was 23 and that got millions of views on YouTube. And so people associated me with that song, and I did write that song. But at the same time, I think again, my focus was always more on acting than it was singing. Even then, it was just a song that I had to make, just an unapologetically queer, loud, fun song. And I'm happy I did.
Like earlier when before we go live, I was talking to you about I reviewed some of the videos and the interviews, and there's a lot on your YouTube channel, but you're not as active as you used to be. But there's a lot, so those our listeners and viewers, you could always watch that, and we'll give you all the social media platforms that you could follow him. You could see, you will know more about Seb than what this interview would cover. But it's such a, I would say, an interesting and a learning experience, especially if you're going through so much in your life. It could be inspirational, it could be funny, it could be. Uh, it's just one of those it reflects life. And I could go on and on and on and all the things that I've seen. There's some interviews with some people that I know personally, but and he's just a fun guy when he was doing when he's doing his YouTube channel. Especially, you could see the progression. So you, because in celebration of the Pride Month, which I know in Atlanta it is celebrated in October as opposed to the rest of the world, it's in June. So when did you come out? Because I know that was a kind of touchy, sad story. Because I know you came out at age 13. You said.
Not quite age 13. I was 2013 when I fully came out.
Yeah.
So I was already 23 then. That's when I came out publicly.
Yeah, but when
But
but age 13 or 14, you were kicked out of the house because of your sexuality. Is that what happened?
I I was disowned for a few years. I was not that young. I was already close to 17, 18.
Yeah.
Um, and essentially I just didn't speak to my family for several years, is what happened at that time. We just had nothing to do with each other and we're at time.
Yeah, how was that though? How was that? Because you especially you were in Manila, and you know how close knit families the Filipinos. You've seen them. You have friends there, but how was that? Well, that was difficult to be so far away and not talking. And how did you survive all these years?
Yeah, so that's it's a pretty dark part of my life. But yes, I don't want to just bash my parents for the sake of bashing them. I don't think as any kid wants to do that. I will start by saying that my parents, for better or worse, financially supported me up until that time, and were always. So having said that, they're also Jehovah's Witnesses, so that paints their worldview, how they see the world, how they see the LGBT community.
Yeah.
And there are things me and my family will never see eye to eye in. I certainly have different values. But at the same time, having said all that, it was the worst. I think when you're in your teenage years, it's easy to cling on to strong emotions.
Yeah.
But I had nothing but hatred, I think, for my parents at that particular age.
Yeah.
And I hated having to, at a young age, when most people hopefully are still have their family for a little longer, had to figure things out a little sooner.
Right.
I certainly relied a lot on friends. And I will say I made a lot of mistakes because, well, I didn't really have people helping me avoid them again at that time.
That was tough though, because at an early age and not having the support, it was just that's why I mentioned people needs to watch that video because I saw so much pain, not only in your voice, but especially you guys need to watch the reaction video of the video he did. And that was tough. It was tough. He keeps stopping the watching the video because that was tough. Especially you had mentioned in that particular YouTube video that you have to stop for a little bit, and you know it's something that I think everybody has to see. because we all go through a certain, I would say, depression, a certain. We question a lot of things in life, especially at a young age, and the acceptance and tolerance is also one of those issues that it's still very prevalent in this day and age.
Absolutely. I think coming out has become a lot easier for younger generations. Like I hear about tweens that, especially in the US, that have a much easier time in the West. But many parts of the world, including the Philippines, that can be incredibly hard, difficult, can still lead to being disowned.
Yeah.
Or much worse, of course, in other parts of the world. So my heart goes out to everyone that's going through that. But hopefully, when you're in a place where your financial stability does not rely on coming out, I hope that when you're in that right place, that most people can jump that hurdle and feel comfortable in their skin, be who they are, love who they want to love.
Now, what brought you to the Philippines? Because I know you were in Georgia, you went to school at Savannah College of Arts and Design. So, what brought you to the Philippines? I kind of know the answer, but I want to hear it from you because you kind of said it in one of your video in passing, but there's nothing. I have not seen any video with all the videos that I watch and the interview. There's nothing really was said. What was the the travel back to the Philippines and what was the connection?
Well, I was backpacking through a few places when I went to the Philippines. It was supposed to be Manila, Bangkok, India. And when I was in the Philippines, I was cast almost immediately in a TVC without necessarily looking in the beginning. So I was cast in a Sun Cellular broadband commercial. Yung bida doon si Kim Jones, yung asawa ni Jericho Rosales.
Rosales now, yeah.
Tapos, part lang ako ng TVC in passing. But that led to being cast in other TVCs soon after. I did Jollibee and got billboards for different skincare companies. All of things which I never would have expected. But that kind of already led to a small platform. And from there, I did Bubble, which got millions of views and was a lot of
13 million
fun.
to be exact at the time. 13 million at the time.
And so from there, I ended up going into some acting roles. I'm happy that some people in the industry took a chance. I know the very first ones were probably not my best because I was just starting out. But over time, I took it seriously, and I always made it a point to learn from everyone I was with. And pagdating sa Tagalog ko,
That's my next question. Your Tagalog is not bad compared to other people.
Thank you po. Siyempre, work in progress yan. But paunti-unti, since I was first arrived way back, in 2021, I believe was the first time I arrived. I've always made a point to watch teleseries. I have a Tagalog coach here sa Atlanta. I should give Tito Vic a shout. Si Vic Romel teaches Tagalog here in Atlanta, and he's been absolutely wonderful. I love him. So he helped me right before the series as well for serye na to, Stay.
Yeah.
So shout out to our show. We're currently at the time of taping this 3 episodes in on a 7-episode series that is showing on YouTube every Saturday/Sunday, depending on your time zone.
Exclusively on a YouTube channel of Team Campy Entertainment. That's where you're gonna see it, and we're gonna be talking more about that in the later part of the thing. But now, so your Tagalog, you learn it as you progress in there, and then of course, during that time of your stay in the Philippines, how was that? Being a well, a lot of people are asking how come he looks so good. He's a good-looking person. Well, then I just found out that your mom is Peruvian, Japanese, and your dad is Peruvian, and that's where the good looks comes in. A lot of you guys were texting me when they found out that Sebastian will be guesting, they're asking, can you ask his origin? Because I know he's an American actor, of course, born in New York, but I was researching on that, and it says Peruvian, and in one of your interviews you said, well, you're Latino technically, but and you speak three languages. You speak, of course, English, Spanish, and of course Tagalog now.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
what was the experience like being in the Philippines?
well, definitely there's a lot of I think Philippine culture has a lot of hospitality in it. There's a lot of people that immediately are kind and will see how they can help you. So, at syempre, maraming mga English speakers sa Manila, sa Metro Manila. Um, I think when I think of Tagalog sa Metro Manila, parang bihira talaga mahanap yung straight na Tagalog speaker.
Yeah.
Most Metro Manila type speaking, I'd say Taglish.
Yeah.
Everything. They even find ways to Taglize certain verbs.
Right.
Like if there's any verb you can think of in English, I don't know, to gym. Magjo-gym ka ba?
Yeah. It's really, you said it. It's Taglish.
Yes. So as long as you,
Because of course the Filipinos normally has the tendency of the accent would be different. Like for example, Robitasin, it's really Robitasin. Did you have difficulty with that, or you kind of adjusted? Because I would assume a lot of people say, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Like pentel pen. These are really pentel pen.
siguro sa umpisa. But that's actually fun because you're gonna see me at one point teaching my co-star Tagalog in episode 5, I believe, ng series. So in our show Stay, you will be seeing fun, confusing moments where one person doesn't understand the Tagalog of another, and it'll be cute. A little bit confusing.
Well, the first three that has been shown, episode 1, 2, and 3, it's one of those that it's not too brazen, it's not too obvious, but it's more like assumed, because that's what when the filmmakers direct Dexter Jimenez and direct Alan Ibanez, the first thing I said is, okay, is this one of the BL series that will be a lot of kissing and bed scenes? And they said no, because this is all more in the mind, but it's really a cute story. I didn't see the whole series yet, so I said, okay, how can I help? And that's exactly where this came about. And of course, when they said who's starring in it, Sebastian Castro, I said wow, because that guy has been gone for a while from the Philippines. I think during the pandemic, and sure enough, you took off prior to the outbreak of pandemic. You
Yep.
March of 2020.
That's correct. Just as it was starting, before there was a national quarantine or a point where the Philippine government wasn't allowing travel, I had to leave right before that cutoff, and I wanted to be with family. Like I mentioned, me and my family were not always close, didn't always get together, didn't always get along. We had major differences. They disowned me at one point, but a decade had passed since that happened. So I had spoken to them in my later 20s, and by that point in time, I knew I didn't want them to go through that alone. They're getting older, and I was the one that did the groceries for a while, made sure that they stayed home, since I was younger. And I'm happy that, at least, of course, as horrible as the time as it was, my family has been okay, gone through things, and I'm happy that the worst of that has obviously been behind us now.
Well, as they said, family is forever. There's no scenes among families. That's what I was always told. You could have all disagreements, you might not talk for a while, but at the end of the day, family is family. Now, a lot of people too would like to see you in some of the films you've done, and I know 2016 you had your first lead role in 4 days, directed of course by Adolf Alex, and definitely a very very good director. He's a director par excellence. And then of course this one I saw 2017. You played an attorney in Bar Boys. That was a good movie. That was a very good movie. And you played attorney Victor Cruz. That I remember because I some of the stars there I can't remember. Why are you laughing?
Just because it's so funny. We shot that, I don't even know if it was even 2 days, my role where I was in there. So for me, it was like a very quick, there are things I spent so much more time in, but it's funny when you work in this industry, you never know what's going to pop with people. But
Yeah.
I remember getting like 10,000 new followers right after the day that film dropped.
It was a good independent movie. I watched it like I would say last year. Somebody told me about it because as I said, it's a lost student kind of story. It's
Yeah,
kind of age at the same time. And then 20, this I need to look. 2018 you did Back with Boys and you played
fuck with
Oscar.
this.
And then, of course, same year, you did Urban Legend and you played Leon. So that I need to find out because I have not seen those. And of course, you're a regular in ABS-CBN in some of the teleseries also. Likewise for GMA, and one of those that I know you did was Carelacion. In one of the episode, you play a gay guy who fell in love with a lesbian. Do you remember
That's
that?
correct. Oh, tama po.
Now, while you are this is the interesting thing about you that I find it so fascinating. When you came back to the US because of the pandemic, you stay with your family, and of course nothing is happening. Not no industry is gone, all the businesses are suffering. Here you are, you did something which is not, well, I would say out of the box. You went and studied to be a realtor. You got your realtor license.
Yeah, so I can share for those that aren't aware. As soon as COVID hit, I came to the US. I had to do something that I could start almost immediately. Real estate made the most sense. I still knew a lot of people in this area, and thanks to social media, I was connected to a lot of people. I have sold over $15 million in real estate in less than 3 years. I have helped about 24 clients, more or less. And I could not be more grateful. If you had asked me that this would be the case 3, 4 years ago, I mean, my mind would equally just blow. But life is wild. It just takes you places you didn't always think you'd go. And I'm grateful for sure. And having said that, acting, and I think more so storytelling, is something very important to me that I would never give up. And even now, as I've had time in real estate, and even though my focus at the moment is here.
Well, does it mean that you are open to doing films or a project in the Philippines? Because now that you're making a lot of money being a realtor, and we know that because especially now here in the US, for people who are watching us in different parts of the world, in the US it's a seller's market. There's a few inventory as we speak, and this is right June of 2023 as we speak. There's really a dire need of inventory of homes to be for sale. So that's gonna drive as law of supply and demand. There's more demand than the supply, so of course it kinda jack up the price. And so I know some of the producers and some of the people in the industry, they will be curious. Is that something that you will welcome if there will be a good project coming your way to kind of put your hat as a realtor, put it aside for a couple of months and go back to the Philippines and do a movie? Or will you only allow and I know there's some artists already based, Filipino artists who are already based in the States, they will only do projects if it's done or filmed in the USA.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely happy to go back sa Pinas and shoot anything. It's just, there's just kind of a certain time of the year that's easier than others. So in real estate right now, as you mentioned, we're in June. This is summer. This is also, because it's summer, peak real estate season. It's very hard for me to leave right now to shoot anything anywhere. But if it's closer to the fall, the winter for sure. I can definitely get away for 2-3 months, shoot any projects necessary, and then kind of come back so I can continue my work here. I'm more than happy to do so. Of course, it just depends on hopefully if it's a good script, if it's just something that makes sense, then I'd be more than happy to jump on board.
Right. Okay. Good. Is that something you are open for movies alone or teleseries? Because as you know, teleseries takes forever. It could go on and on
Yeah.
unless you'll be a recurrent character in that teleserie.
Yeah, I have movies and TV film projects that are not teleseries are definitely go. I'm game. If it's a teleserie, I guess it depends on circumstances. Not all teleseries go on for years. Hindi naman lahat ang probinsyano, di ba?
Seven
Parang
years.
exception. So I would be more than happy. Also, at least with teleseries, yung maganda dun is if you're a regular, income will also go on for a length of time. So it's a little bit more logical.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's always about the situation. I'm happy to see that situation, cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay. Well, you mentioned earlier Stay. Stay is a project that that's the most current project you have done so far since you moved back to the USA. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. That
And I
is
understand also you didn't really audition for that, but the two filmmakers, Direct Allen and Direct Dexter, found you or connected with you. So how was that feeling that you don't have to audition just like anyone else? It seems like you were handpicked. And for those who has not seen part of that, you're missing a lot because you have to see this is a showcase of how good Sebastian Castro is. The nuances, it's very very subtle. It's really the first three episodes that started June 10, June 11, every like what he said earlier. It's every Saturday and Sunday. But if you missed any of the first three episodes, you could always go back to the YouTube channel. It's still there and it's gaining so much traction. I think they're going to the 300,000 marks already on the views. So please do watch that. It's Stay, Stya, Stay. And one of the trailer would say, well, you're not giving me any reason to stay. And that's one of the character who said that. So how was the feeling when you got a call? Was that a call or more of a YouTube? How was the connection made by the two filmmakers?
Yeah, so they first reached out through email, and I will say, of course, what's the feeling? How can you be anything but grateful when you're considered for any project? It was, I think, a good fit. I was open to the idea of doing a BL series for a while. I just was hoping for something that, true to the genre, might be a little bit more on the innocent side. And I think this was very much that from the moment I saw it. It was just a cute love story that was all about the dynamic between two people, like beginning to end. That was the crux of what this was. And people still haven't seen the full thing. So there's
I know you cannot give it away.
no, I definitely won't. No spoilers.
Yeah.
I know. Direct
Well,
will hit me if I do.
the first three episode though, it captures already the Asian hate, the discrimination, the sad part about people getting conned in Hollywood or any parts of the world. It talk. What I like also, I think it was the third scene where you were talking to Lot Lot De Leon, who's a very iconic actress in the Philippines, and she played your mom. And the thing is, it was just on phone call, and of course, who could go? I just interviewed Bombalicious. I said, you are such a scene stealer.
Tama.
Yeah,
It's
she's the
true.
pangbansang dash.
So loved both of them. Lolo de Leon is, of course, an icon. I'm very grateful to be able to have worked with her. That said, di, di pa ako I still haven't met her. Like, she recorded all her scenes,
Yes.
right? So I was essentially responding to pre-recorded recordings of her and then just go. But when I watched the edited version, I was really, really happy with how natural it felt. The small responses we had to each other, even if we still never met in person.
Yeah, well, that makes you a very good actor because you could act as if you've known her for years, and the chemistry, undoubtedly, there was such a big chemistry, like a son and a mom and a mother. And one of the things that's so cute too is like when you were doing the Hollywood's Walk of Fame, and you were brushing with your shirt, like like, and it's just amazing. I mean, my question would be on that: was there any ad lib on your part? Or how did the directors or the filmmakers instructed you? Did you go off tangent in some of the script, or you did it line by line? Were you coach on, okay, this is how you should do this scene? Because there's some directors who would want you to do it the way they want you to execute it. But in this particular case, how was the execution like? Did Dexter and Alan just give you the script? Okay, read it, like rehearsed it, but it's a free hand as far as how you're gonna deliver it.
Yeah. So pagdating sa Tagalog, word by word, line by line, I think we tried our most to be absolutely on point. Kasi syempre, Tagalog yun. It's not my first language. So I have to respect that. When it came to English scenes, of which there were more, I would do my best to respect the director's work, respect the character they created, but I'd also, yes, have some room to do some ad libs. And I don't, it's, from my end, when I see it, it's not a competition, right? Both of us, everyone in the production wants the same thing, which is to create the most consistent, true to character, most charismatic individual we can. And I think when that's the goal of everyone in the same team, then you can get the best result. So as an example, I didn't really have any direction when we shot the scene that you're describing in the Hollywood
Walk of Fame.
Walk of Fame. They didn't tell me, oh, turn over, do this. No, I was just being in the back of my mind. I thought, Sebastian, just be cute, be adorable, be as ridiculous as possible so you can make something happen and give them something to play with in editing. And that's just what I did.
Well, it was very effective because that's why I asked the question, and I like also like when you look at Ellis, who happens to be Joshua, in the character of Joshua. There's a certain longing, and you were flirting, but those are nuances that was captured on in the series, that it's not acted. It's just like, well, people would say pakyut in Tagalog, but it's just like you were flirtatious, but it's like, is he flirting with Joshua? So they get together. It's really one of those that I keep telling people, regardless of your preferences, your sexual orientation, this is a good, it's a feel good series that you would watch each episode smiling, because these are two people from two different worlds. Supposedly one from the Philippines as a filmmaker, and the other one is kind of masungit, it's kind of like edgy, and he's always upset at life. And I know there'll be some revelation in some of the other episodes. I kind of knew some of it, but we're not about to tell. So there's I think on part 3 also, there was a scene that you called him, his name is Joshua, and you called him Josh, and he got irate, and he was like, "Why are you calling me that?" And the way you respond to his, I would say, to his line, is something that is innately yours.
I appreciate that. There's a lot that every actor, can add. That they are attacking the script as they see fit. And of course, once a director says we want a little more of this, less of that, you adjust, because you're still their puppet. You give them something, and then you allow them to guide you, because they have the overall vision in their mind of what each scene has to accomplish for the overall story.
Now, were all those scenes take one?
No, I don't think anybody can do an entire show and take ones. But I would say, simply because there were financial constraints, we had to shoot everything in 2 weeks. There wasn't a budget to go overtime. We had to do many things in a single take, especially every single scene that involves the liquor store. There were a lot of takes, a lot of, I mean, shots in that particular location that had just one take per camera angle.
Frame. Yeah.
So this is the scene. Okay, we want to achieve this angle, one take go. This camera angle, we moved it, one take go. 4 or 5 camera angles, end scene, done. Next scene.
And those who has not watched the series, please do watch, because what he was talking about is the opening scene alone. It's the liquor scene, and that's very very powerful. If you are not moved by that scene, it's not like you're gonna be moved because it's such a crying scene or a drama scene. No, it's not. But it kind of like lay out the whole foundation of the whole series for that particular matter, and it really will touch a lot of hearts, regardless of your orientation, regardless of your culture. It transcends culture, and it's happening. It is so timely that it's happening to all cultures, especially if you are far away from your homeland.
Absolutely. I will also add that Direct Dexter and Allen shared a lot from their own personal experiences. They're targeting essentially an Asian hate crime, and they know about some of this from firsthand experience. Also, I am the child of immigrants. So although I'm Latino and Asian, my grandmother was a poor Peruvian woman who, came to New York with nothing, and she had to raise 4 kids on her own. My grandfather left her, so she was a single mother in Queens, New York. It was not easy pulling that off, but she raised all her children. My mom came to the US about my age, when she was in her 30s, met my dad, and that's kind of how my existence here came to be. I wasn't here for 300 years of family, but I know that I have a lot of respect for my grandmother, who sacrificed so much, and was just a really hard worker, who on the salary of a cook in Queens was able to buy a house and raise her kids. Not an easy thing, as you know, the real estate market in the US now in 2023, but she made it happen as a single mother with 4 kids.
So we were talking about earlier about things that you've done in the Philippines and all that, and some of the movies you've done, and of course we've been talking about Stay. Now, Stay, being that is the 7-part series that's being shown right now. I believe it's gonna end in July, and by the time we show this, it's gonna be close to the finale. So, what's your takeaway in that series? What's your takeaway? Like, as an audience, like me, I've seen some of the episodes already. What's the takeaway that people, audiences, would be able to take from that series itself, from your own perspective?
It's a cute rom-com, ultimately, a BL series. So the biggest takeaway is what the genre offers. Kilig, romance, a good time. I think for me, since it's right now in the present, I've seen reactions up to episode 3. I'm already very grateful, because I knew that coming in, Team Campy had a very modest YouTube presence. They had a few subscribers, and already, like we've mentioned, you have like 100,000 views per episode, and the first one already is up to, I think, 250,000 now, and they already have 17,000 subscribers at this point that they can take.
Yeah, I think it was 300 before. Now it's 17,000, which is code. And by the time we show this particular interview, I would assume it will be doubled, if not tripled, or hopefully quadrupled. So that's the power of Stay. So they're staying. Now, was in preparation for the role of Andre, was there any, because I know some actors like yourself, there's a lot of people, they do method acting, that they carry the role from the day that they film up to the end, and we've seen that there's people in Hollywood who does that. But in your case though, was it more of just acting the way you perceive Andre to be?
Yes, I respect people who do method acting and torture themselves before a shoot. I do not torture myself before a shoot. There's already enough work and pressure. I don't think it's for me, I don't find it necessary, but I was very, very happy to be able to fit into Andre's shoes. I think the important thing for me was just making sure I tried to understand him as much as possible. And I have a very good sense of who Andre is. He's gullible more than anything. He's also kind-hearted, does everything for his family. I feel like I just know him. And so, yeah.
Well, in the parts that I've seen on some of the episodes, there's some nuances that you've done with Filipinos would say, or Filipino Americans would say, pa-cute. Like, meaning you do a lot of things with your facial expression. You wink a lot. You kind of smile on one of the side of your mouth. Is that something that was incorporated there, or was it a directed by the filmmakers, or it was innately yours?
Facial expressions, I'm sure there's some advice that directors gave to us. Because we're moving so quickly, si Direk Dexter mas yung the one who would kind of guide the scene, and Alan would be more focused on the camera, the lighting, and of course they do both, but it seems that was how they would start a scene. So yeah, a lot of the expressions and the attack was just based on me, the first go I would do as I would do it. And then if there's anything they wanted to pull back or add to, I know with Ellis, we needed him to be, this stay is very much part of the enemies to lovers genre, right? In the romance genre, you have many subgenres, and this is 100% enemies to lovers. So it was important that Ellis and I practically hated each other from the beginning, or at least Ellis seemed to hate me, and I was more bubbly and forcefully charismatic, where I could just push his buttons left and right.
Yeah, and you were flirting a lot though, based on the other character. You're pushing in a way very flirtatious, while Ellis, his character Joshua, is very stoic. And you could tell there's some admiration, but it was not as blatant, because he cooks for you, and he was worried when you disappeared. I think that's the third part or the third episode, and you were doing your I call it the Filipino drama, that you will go away and let other people worry about you and say, no, I'm okay, don't worry about me. That's, in my book, it's too Asian, but you guys handled the scene very well, and kudos to Direct Dexter and Direct Allen. Now, was it difficult to play Andre, or would you, given a choice, would you rather play Joshua as opposed to Andre?
I feel like in the film 4 Days, my character was more like Josh, in the sense where my character was more already stoic and gave little emotion. So I had the opportunity to play a character like Josh many times. Even in Bar Boys, my character has a very minimal expression when I played Attorney Cruz in Bar Boys. So I've had times where I could play stiff, stoic. I enjoy it, where emotions are more subtle. But I think this is probably one of the few times now I could play a character na medyo kikay,
Yeah.
OA, na just more, it gave me more, I had more room to have more fun with it than anything else. And I like that, because I think that's slightly different than what I've been put in the past.
Well, that's why I was telling earlier for all the viewers and our listeners to try to catch your post on your YouTube channel. That's been like 8 months ago was your latest, because it shows so much of your personality. There's some posting there that wala lang, you just talk, and of course you have so much to say, and of course your travel, it's like a travelogue, but there's so much of you. There's a little of Andre there, here and there, like when you joke and like wala lang, the people passing by say hi, hello, and all that. So it's kind of, it's more like snippets of Andre in some parts, but I guess because you were doing that, you were happy, except for that one particular post about when you were reviewing your coming out, and you were talking about family. That was intense, like what I said earlier. Now, Given a chance, would you rather do another continuation of Stay? Because a lot of people, based on what I've read on the messages, they're saying hopefully it will not end on the 7 parts. That will be continued. You know how people would like. I don't know if you're familiar with the other BL series that was done successfully in the Philippines. It's Game Boy, and the Game Boy became part two, and then it was moved into a movie. Is that? Are you open to that, if ever?
If it's what Sir Direct Dexter and Alan wish, I'm more than happy to do more. Absolutely.
Now, how was your relationship filming? Well, the series. How was your relationship with? Let's start with Joshua Ellis Gage. How was that? Because you didn't know him from Adam prior to this project, right?
That's correct. But
Yeah.
we did have a lot of chance to do video calls, and Direct Dexter and Direct Alan wanted us to talk over the phone and be comfortable with each other. So we did, and we knew we had had lots of conversations before we ever started meeting on set in LA. And we're very close. Over the course of the filming, I think we were trying to do a lot in a little bit of time. So it was very it was a good experience, but it could be tiring. And because of that, me and Ellis kind of relied on each other, and just it was nice having someone to communicate how you felt at any given time, who understood how you felt. And Ellis was wonderful for that.
Wonderful. How about your pangbansang besh? Si Bombalicious Eclaver, because I had the chance of talking to her, interviewing her, and it was so
Uh,
hilarious the whole time. I'm gonna do
yes.
Ellis next week, but how was your experience with Bombalicious Eclaver? Because I know not only she acted in the series as your best friend Besh, but also she became the makeup artist as well. How was that experience with her? Because did you know her prior to the filming?
No, we only had maybe like one phone call before we met in LA, I think. So I didn't have the chance to meet her as much before we started. But once we got there, she was a breath of fresh air. She lightened the mood, made everybody just feel good, and you know, just you wake up in the morning, you know you have a lot to do. I'm focusing on my lines, but Bomba would be just playing makeup on my face, making jokes, and that was good stress relief, which I think everybody needed a little bit of. So.
Right now, what's your message though to the directors, to direct Dexter and direct Alan? So this is the part where I'll be asking you for some messages. How was it working with them? I know sometimes it's having a series that's always you've been a seasoned actor. You've done so many from ABS, GMA, and some films as well. How was that experience?
I am absolutely grateful to Direct Dexter and Alan. I know that they put so much of themselves into this show, meaning partly story-wise, because this was an immigrant experience that was true to them. They also just put a lot of work into being able to make a production that the finished product is, you know, what you see may be 20 minutes, but it represents years of their life, from conceptualizing the story, casting, production, post-production, where they spent months editing tiny things. And just even before it gets to that point, right? Like, to create a character, a lot of people know when a story is good. They know when they're invested in a character. But I think a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into how much energy, time, devotion it takes to make a character feel real, because you have to constantly go through a million scenarios that do not happen and ask yourself, would Andre do this? Would Ellis or would Joshua do that?
Yeah.
And is this the best place and best time to show that Andre is learning this thing he has to learn to progress to the next scene? You know, like, there's a million little decisions they have to make. And I have the utmost respect for them for juggling all that. And especially during production, when, you know, because there was a lot we had to shoot in a minimum amount of time. I have a lot of respect for them for being able to get it all together and get to the finish line the way they did.
Now, the series though, this is the first time you're seeing them in its entirety, right? or did you get an advanced copy of the whole seven episodes, or you're just like us? Because you and I, we watch it. Uh, First two episode at the press conference here in Los Angeles at the consulate, Philippine consulate in Los Angeles.
Okay.
But the audiences, like some of my colleagues, are watching it now as it happens. So in your case, though, did you guys see the whole? Because like, remember when you're doing your part of it, you're just getting scene by scene by scene, but they said that when you see it in its totality, it's different. Is that the same experience as? I mean, were you amazed on how they put it together? Because it's overwhelming. The messages that I've been reading and the comments and the reviews are overwhelming, amazingly wonderful, and I'm so proud of this particular series. That's why I'm putting so much effort in promoting it because
Oh
it's one of
wow.
those with all the challenges that you guys went through on the financial, which was mentioned anyways, and with the skeleton crew. If you look at the finished product, at least the first three episodes, you would not tell. You would not be able to tell. It's well made. It's glossy. It smells fresh and wonderfully acting or wonderfully acted. So kudos to all the people in production as well as of you guys, the actors. So do you have the same sentiments in that, or you already saw it in its totality?
So absolutely, I have not seen it in its totality. I have seen what you have seen, Sir Josh. So I don't know what the episode 4, 5, 6, 7 looks like. I know how the script looks like, but there were major changes they made in editing. So, halimbawa, yung opening scene of episode 1, originally in the script, it was not supposed to open with what I don't want to make spoilers, but it was a
The
very
liquor store.
the liquor store scene that was very intense. It was not supposed to start with that scene. They changed that in editing because it just made more sense to grab the story. So that was a decision they made after shooting, after production.
Ah,
So I don't know if the same thing's going to happen with episodes 4 through 7, where major things are going to move around. It, as much as the writer controls and director controls, editors also control a huge amount of how the story is told, and they are the editors, so they could also give it another sheen of new storytelling if they want to. I will say, to respond though, I read the comments as well, like you're saying, per episode. And it's been really fun. Me and Ellis will sometimes text and say, "Oh, I just see what people said." It's
well,
funny
people
because
are so in love with the character, with you, Joshua's, and Joshua and Andre. I mean, they wanted more, and like they said, it's bitin, or like they want more. Well, they want more. I mean, one of the comment coming from another. It's not in the U.S. It's I think somewhere in the Middle East said they can't wait for the following week for the episode to come out. So that's very interesting. It's so welcoming, and the fascination and the interest is just growing, growing week after week after week. That's why I was telling Direct Dexter, and of course Direct Alan, that this will be. I don't want to use the word cult, but it seems like there will be so much following across the globe now that people are sharing it, and I always tell them that this might be on the BL series, might be the little Greek fat wedding. Remember, there's no advertising on that. It's just the word of mouth. And
I love that movie.
yeah, I love that movie too. And remember, the actress who did that was the director as well as the producer. And there was no marketing done on that one. It was an independent film, but it gained so much popularity because people enjoyed it tremendously. In this case, though, I have a feeling on the BL side, that's what's gonna happen, because this is really well made, considering all the challenges you guys went through, filming it and all that. So kudos to everyone in the production, and I know I'm verbalizing the comments that people had, or echoing rather the comments that I've read. Now, on that side though, because I know it will tackle some of the love story. Personally though, you went through some wonderful story in your on your with yourself as well, because I know based on what I've read, you had three serious relationship, I think, and
That's correct.
the longest was 4 years with Ryan.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Let me know if you don't want to talk about. I know because I there was an interview like why did it fail after 4 years? Of course, it's well publicized because you're a celebrity, as I've said in the previous talk that we had. So and one of the things you said, and there was a whole snippets of news on that, like why what happened, and you said it's LDR, long distance relationship. So are you telling, in your opinion, though, long distance relationship will not work?
Uh, so anything that I experience doesn't have to be other people's experience, right? For me, I gave long distance a try for over 2 years. So me and Ryan were together for 4 years, but he moved first to Beijing, China, from the Philippines to work for CGTN or
Yeah,
CC at the time
yeah,
CCTV.
Chinese TV. Yeah,
And so he moved kind of halfway through our relationship. And we still tried. It's not like he moved and the next day we called it quits. We tried for years after that, a couple of years more. And it just got a little harder and harder to maintain that for us. It doesn't mean that it can't be done. I know a lot
yeah,
of people make it work and I'm happy for them, but it was hard for us. I think with mainland China specifically, there's a language barrier for most people. There's very, very cold weather, which I'm just not built for. My body likes Philippine weather because it's so warm and I like humidity. I love tropical weather. And there was a certain dryness as well, not just cold, but dry cold. Like my skin was flaking every time I went there. I was kind of scared. Um, but all in all, there was a lot of love in that relationship. I have nothing but good things to say about Ryan. I adore him as a person. His father recently passed, and I messaged him
yeah.
and
Wow.
just
Oh, sure.
he shared a lot about his relationship with his dad. So I know that had to have been very hard for him.
Yeah.
But he's a beautiful person, and I'm happy that he has somebody in his life that he's happy with. So nothing but good things for Ryan.
Now, what are the learnings? Because we talk about the learnings of you have learned or the takeaway from stay. In your case, though, personally, what was the learnings? Because that 4 years, that's some people, it's a lifetime. So, was there things that you would have done better, or given a chance of the challenge that you went through that particular relationship, would you have avoided it?
I would not have avoided it. I think all the experiences we have, we like. I don't think I'm someone who thinks things all happen for a reason. I don't know if I'm. That's a very Catholic
Yeah, mentality.
mentality, right? And I I have some Christian values, but I'm not sure I see the world that way. But I will say that I'm grateful just for what I've experienced. It's something that came to me. If you ask me what did I learn, um, I don't know that every experience is meant to teach you something, but I suppose one of my takeaways was just learning a little bit more about myself, what I need, what I should look for in a relationship, because I'm happy I met Ryan. I'm happy we had time together, but I also learned one, I absolutely can't do long distance right now in my life. Not long distance, maybe like opposite ends of the US, maybe. Um, or if there's some reasonable chance that we're going to be able to move to a nearby location at some point. But I don't think I can do years of opposite ends of the world long distance. It's not what I'm built for. I learned that. I learned before Ryan that I just can't date someone who's closeted. It's not something I'm built for either. And I should just avoid any self-inflicting pain from the beginning by moving on. Just something I've learned about myself. And there was a third category. Oh, one of the third categories I was looking for in somebody was I also wanted someone that was okay with the possibility of having kids one day.
Yeah.
Not immediately, doesn't have to be tomorrow, but I am 33. I would like the idea of in the next decade, maybe having a family. And even that's not, I'm still, I still weigh that back and forth because I thought I wanted a big family when I was younger. I thought I wanted like a dozen kids that were all over me. And now I realize that's not something I'm built for either. At most, maybe one kid. With surrogacy, you can choose to have twins. So maybe a 2-for-1 special. Di po natin alam. Ano, check natin kay Mang Inasal. 2-for-1 special, maybe. But that's kind of in the gist what I might learn takeaways.
Now that you've done Stay and you've seen the production side, the acting side, is directing is directing in your horizon? Because I know we talked earlier, you talk about you had written some scripts and eventually you want to produce it or you're looking for a producer to do it. Now, is that something that you've seen how Dexter or Direct Dexter or Direct Allen work? I mean, practically they did everything for this particular production. Is that something you could see yourself doing that in the near future? Like, was that fascinating for you? Like, oh, he could be a cinematographer, he could be the scriptwriter, he could be director. Like, you already did a script, you already had experience of writing a script. So, is that something you? They said because being a director, you are the captain of the ship. And now, since it's your story, you're the one who wrote it. Is that something you're looking into?
Yes, absolutely. Like I mentioned to you before. So I love that you're going these places. I am very interested in one day directing. I have several stories that I would love to do. I realize that, especially when you're starting out, you're kind of forced to pick the most commercially viable ones, and that's okay. Since I think my biggest audience is in the BL genre, I have to consider that. Even though I have a lot of love for other genres, I will consider my audience and what makes them happy, people who followed me for the last, decade of my life. But at the end of the day, I will say I'm a storyteller. Acting is normally being a puppet in someone else's story, but you do make a lot of decisions as well and how you're going to attack a scene, make that character uniquely them. And I enjoy that. I'm happy to do that in the future for when people send scripts, and please think about me and ask me to read. I'm more than happy to. I look forward to bringing more characters to life. At the same time, there's so many characters I love to bring life that don't necessarily require me to play them. There is something beautiful about the quote unquote hero's journey, about taking someone who goes through an inciting incident that takes them somewhere they never thought possible, a number of experiences that come along the way that change them forever to another person. Like that whole thing it's every movie you've ever thought of, right? It's Star Wars, it's Jurassic Park. It's beautiful. And
Ahead of its time.
And I think being able to do that one day, in any size, big or small, that is such a privilege, and I'd be happy to do that at the right time.
Well, the good thing about now is the indie films, independent film, they have its own following now too. And even if you look at the Oscars, the Academy, the movies that are independently produced are the one winning all the best pictures, even on the acting category, on the technical category, and so there's so much doors open now. Unlike in the past, it has to be studio driven, actors driven. Now it's really the story. And what I like now with what's happening, I would say the past 10-15 years, at least in Hollywood, people would watch a movie not only because of who's in it, but who's directing it. It's a director's driven too. I think that's a new fascination. And on top of that, the Asian thing now. It's so in after Joy Luck Club a couple of years ago, and then it died down. And then of course now with the crazy rich Asian. So now there's a who, and then of course with Michelle Yeoh winning the Best Actress, and of course Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, go Michelle Yeoh.
Imagine that movie won Best Picture, and it's
While we're throwing out names, we should give a lot of love to Dolly De Leon, who did an
yes,
amazing job. She
yeah,
put the Philippines, I think, on the map for a lot of
yeah,
these very
Triangle.
prestigious international awards. So for
And
Triangle of Sadness,
yeah,
Dolly De
and now
Leon,
she
more
was
love.
invited to join the academy now. She was just
Yeah, I
recently.
saw that.
Yeah, which is wonderful, and she's been acting for the longest time as a bit player, a character actress, and that one movie, Triangle of Sadness, made it, and now she's a big, well sought after in Hollywood, and kudos to her. And of course, like what you said, if Lea Salonga opened the doors for Broadway, she did open the doors, more doors. I mean, there's already open, but it's more doors. Now, if you could go back in time, because you already mentioned you're 33 years old, if you could go back in time and you see you walk into yourself 20 years old and you being 33 now, what would you have said to yourself who's 20 years old?
I'd probably slap him. Wake
Wow.
up. Focus ka. Kalimutan mo yung boy na yan. I think, when you're young, it's easy to fall in love and just have a momentary side adventure. I mean, like an adventure that will take you somewhere. So I think, yeah, just reminders to focus every now and then is good. I say smack because my grandmother, I mean, it may not have been the best form of parenting, but my grandmother, when I was little, she would always kind of like give me a smack if I wasn't paying attention. Not horrible, I
Yeah.
guess, but so I think focus to think 10 years ahead, try to think about what you want to accomplish in 5 years and 10 years. Those reminders are all good.
Good. Now, you mentioned about in you were 20, you would smack yourself because you were so intensely in love. How are you when you're in love? Do you give 100%, have 50%, or you give 80%, you keep 10% for yourself, or you just go crazy when you're in love?
And man,
Or it comes with age?
yeah, I think when I was 21, maybe I was probably more, because the question was like 10 years ago, right? So when I was in my early 20s, I probably was more passionate. I think now I don't want to fall for anything that does not make logical sense in my life. So I think, like I mentioned before, there's some non-negotiables I've learned about myself. Um, that said, uh, I'm not in a rush in 2023. I'm okay. I got out of a relationship last year, and it was someone that was in my life for over a year. And it's not something I shared on social media. It's not somebody I posted about. It was a more, I kind of like how it happened. It was a more quiet, for me, more mature relationship. And even though it didn't work out, it was strong enough where I feel like I just needed a break. I needed to not be in a relationship for 2023. So siguro pagdating sa 2024, ano, pwede na. We're opening the door to possibilities. But I think for now, I'm going to try to take a break from anything that's too serious.
Well, you're doing so well on the realtor side. So sometimes when you're too cooped up with work, so the love life kind of put on the back burner, because it's always difficult. And I've seen that and I've experienced that. It's either a career and you give up certain part of your love life, or you concentrate your love life and your career suffers. And I only see seldom, very seldom, with people who could do it both at the same time. So
Mm.
kudos to them, but not in real life. It will be difficult. It has to. It's difficult for one time management to juggle stuff.
It's
Okay,
true.
now we're almost getting there. So, like with Joshua character, in your particular life right now, you as Sebastian or Seb, who are you? What character are you looking for? Was there any particular uh, uh, say, not need to be intelligent. Was there anything, or how do you know when this is the one?
You're talking about in what context?
Well, remember, like we see, we I cannot talk so much about Stay because I've only seen 3 episodes.
Okay.
So in real life, though, are you looking more of a Joshua character as a potential relationship partner in real life, or what's your ideal person to have a relationship with?
I don't know that I should. I think I've learned not to pigeonhole a personality as my ideal, because when things happen, they just kind of happen, right? When you meet somebody that you feel a certain way, then all those preconceived ideas kind of go out the window. So why even try to convince yourself that this is the kind of person I want? I think there are a few things I know I don't want. Respectfully, I probably don't want a lot of drama in my life right now. So I probably would never date an Andre. Sorry, Andre. I love you, Andre, but you're not for me. I would just have to show you the door and wish you the best. Just because Andre was very
Complex character. So much
yeah.
baggage, I think. In the past 3 episodes I've seen, there's so many things that will unfold in the next episodes. Why he doesn't want to be called Josh as opposed to Joshua. And then, well, in your character, though, like you said, it's Andre is very gullible. He wear his heart in his sleeves.
Yeah.
That's why it's like open for everybody. But would you fall in love with a Joshua?
Joshua's personality, his character as is presented in the show.
Yeah.
I suppose it's possible. He's sometimes when people withhold things, it makes you want to know more about them. So
Yeah, very mysterious. That's why I think there's a Team Joshua now and a Team Andre brewing among the websites that I've seen.
mm,
Now, um, this is the part where I would like you to invite because I know we're showing this prior to the finale, and by that time, maybe 5 or 6 episodes would have been shown. I would like you to this portion to invite them to watch the finale, and also at the end of the day, this will be on the YouTube channel of Team Campy. That being said, it means that people who did not watch the first, second, third, and so on and so forth episode, they could always go back because it will be perpetually posted. So this is the time that I would ask you, one, message to the supporters already and the followers of Stay. Secondly, those who have not seen part of Stay. So twofolds. One, those are who are the followers, and the other one who are the potential followers and believers of the beautiful story of Andre and Joshua as it unfolds.
okay. Hey everybody, I would love to invite you to watch Stay, our 7 episode BL series, now showing episode. Our season finale is almost about to come here, so now's the perfect time to binge. And sending you a lot of love from Atlanta. Can't wait to go back to the Philippines. Wait a minute.
Now, yeah, pwede na. That's good. Now, a couple of things. A lot of people are asking for your social media. So correct me if I'm wrong. It's your IG is the Sebastian Castro.
Yes, the Sebastian Castro on Instagram, on Twitter, Seb_Castro, I
Correct.
think. And
YouTube.
then on YouTube, it's youtube.com/Sebastian Castro.
Okay.
Also, I
And then
think, yeah.
Instagram.
Instagram, we didn't mention Facebook, facebook.com/Sebastian Castro or Sebastian's Life. Facebook.com/Sebastian Castro or Seb Castro.
It's
Hindi ko pa alam.
Seb
Basta,
Castro.
i-check nyo lang ang name ko.
Yeah, but how would they know if it's the real one? Because there's so many posers. There's
But
so
the
many.
things, Instagram and Facebook, I'm verified on both of those accounts.
So you
So
have to
there
check
it's easy
it.
to find me. But when it comes to Twitter, I guess that one you have to know is Seb_Castro.
Right.
I do not have a TikTok. So if you're following someone on TikTok, it's not me.
Good.
Um, yep. And I'm posting more than I did. I feel like ever since COVID, I got busy and I just kind of like left social media and just focused on what I needed to accomplish in life, work-wise. But I'm trying to force myself to just take a breather and here's the house I sold. Here's me at the beach. Here's life. I'm trying to just kind of share a little bit more of myself this year going forward. So there's that.
Yeah, and you did because like you showed your nephews, your two nephews and your one niece, Olive or Olivia, and it's Alex and Elliot.
Yeah, you got it. Those are my munchkins.
Yeah, and I
Munchkin one,
understand
munchkin two,
you
munchkin
pick
three.
your. I think that's your duties to pick them up from school, or one of them to pick up from school every day.
Not every day. There was a time where I was on uncle duty and I had to, yes, but I will take care of them, for 2 hours at a time, 3 hours when my sister needs a break and I'm helping out. So they're a big part of our life. We are having time in Florida as a family soon. So you're about to see a bunch of photos on my Instagram about my nephews and beach photos, probably us trying to figure out where to go to next.
So, what are we expecting aside from Stay, that's doing so well, from Sebastian Castro as the actor? Because we know as a realtor, you're doing wonderfully. Because you just mentioned earlier that you did like 15 million already in sales. So,
Mhm.
what about as an actor? What are we expecting aside from Stay? Because Stay will be here to stay.
There's a few different auditions, things I've sent the tapes to. I'm so focused, I think, on writing lately that, like I mentioned to you, there may be an opportunity for smaller, if not an indie film project, maybe a small, kind of like Stay, 8 episode BL series type format that I would like to work on. But realistically, I would only begin shooting that end of 2024, 2025. So if people want to pop into my life before then and say, hey, we have a character that we'd like you to read for, I'm more than happy to do it. I also should throw out there that I love the idea of doing a BL series with a Thai lead actor. I think it'd be really fun. It'd be different. And I have Asian blood, but I also am Latino.
Yeah.
So I'm also happy to play to who I am and do a BL series where I speak Spanish. Siempre lo puedo hablar. Tengo padres peruanos, so también puedo hacer algo en que estoy hablando español por el serie. No tiene que ser simplemente filipino todas las veces. So that's one more little nugget I'm throwing out there for people that want to consider me for different things.
Yeah, because you are so versatile as an actor because of the language and the look. I think there's so much roles. It's just the role has to be. Now, one of the thing too is if they are considering you for any acting job or any other job, do you have an agent that they should go to, or can they just go to you directly?
For now, my work email is publicly accessible, Sebastian at pointhonors.com. So that's meant more for like business. But that's where Dexter and Alan reached out to me. Since I currently don't have a management, I'm okay with handling that on my own since I've been here for a decade in that industry. Feel free to message me, email me. I'm more than happy to respond directly there. And yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, it was really a pleasure to be talking to you for almost close to 2 hours, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful. And it's I hope to see more of you and all your projects, and I can't wait to see the final product of Stay. As I know the seventh episode, I know a lot of people they would see that they want to see part two. As this early stage, now they hate the because right now as we're doing this interview, the Ivan character,
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming, and it was a trailer, and there's already a hate hate thing going on, hate messages for him.
Oh no.
They said, "Oh, let's not introduce that guy. Let him just walk." I mean, I don't know if you've seen that comment. Like, "Oh, let him just be a passerby." Concentrate on Andre and Joshua. So it's so cool that you're getting this conversation, discussion going on just in the third episode alone. Imagine if once they showed fourth, fifth, and sixth, and even of course they're waiting for the encounter again with supposedly the father, because that's another story another angle to the whole story of Stay, because you were looking, of course you bump into him on your third on the third episode, so people are curious to know what would happen to that too, because we already established at least the first early three episodes the relationship with your mother, but now it's the father, so that people are curious. I'm not gonna put you on the spot on that, because or else the two directors, the two filmmakers will kill me if we spoil whatever series or whatever episode that would be. But
Yeah, no spoilers. Sebastian is a spoiler-free person. Let me say there is one thing I wanted to tell you.
okay.
So earlier you had asked me questions about when I was 13, 14,
Yes.
and I feel like I mentally kind of blanked. Um, there's there's things about the timeline in my life that I think I can just mention because you asked me about it, and because you asked me about it. So anyways, when I was 13, 14,
Yeah.
there was something that happened at a very young age between me and a friend, and I'm not going to go into details. I don't think that doesn't help this explanation at all. But in the context of my life, there was something that happened, and although it was more or less innocent, I'd say now as an adult, at that time, I felt so ashamed because I had this very strong relationship with my God, and my God at that time was a Jehovah's Witness God.
Yeah.
So I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So I felt so overwhelmingly shameful about it that I volunteered everything that happened to my parents.
Right.
And I really, really, really wish I hadn't done that, because that led to a number of things at a very young age that I hadn't fully processed. It didn't hit my mind really, truly, and fully that I could be gay at 13. Maybe to looking back, it's kind of more obvious to me now, but then it wasn't. It's just, again, 13, 14, something happened. I spent the next several years forcing myself to push unclean thoughts, to restrain myself, to do all these horrible things that you shouldn't have to be worried about when you're a kid, because you're 14, 15, you're supposed to go through puberty. You're supposed to be confused. You're not supposed to have answers yet. And hopefully you should have parents, I would hope, that would just listen and not take everything to the congregation and make an issue of it publicly. But I was publicly disfellowshipped at age 14, which means in front of hundreds of people, my name was announced in front of a podium that I had done something wrong. So I was publicly shamed very loudly when I was young.
Mm.
And I think that forever that struck such an insecure chord in me that I think even at this age, I don't know that I fully dealt with, because I'm now 33 and I still haven't quite had a sit down that I think I want to at some point with a therapist about this. I think I've been so focused on everything I've told you about, like certain targets in my life.
Yeah.
But I know that destroyed so much of my self-worth, my self-esteem, my ability to, I just learned to disassociate at such a young age because of so many of these horrible things. And then eventually there was a video that you reference, which has to do with a particular day where I couldn't force myself to go to the congregation anymore because years had passed and I was already so full of self-hate that I was trying to get to a point where I could just tell my parents, this is just something I am. And I think at that point I must have been around 17. But I think I've suppressed so much, honestly, Sir Josh, that like I just was saying, I even now, I still just have to, I think I still want to talk to certain professionals about it at some point. 2020, I have to force myself into a little calendar year where I can say, like, Sebastian, like, new goal, do this, just do this and make this happen. So I probably just want to talk things out a little bit more to somebody. That's not just a boyfriend, right? Someone that's meant to kind of
Well,
help you
the good thing
navigate.
about it, I think, just the fact that you're able and bravely able to talk about it in the snippets, I think that is already a progress because it means that whatever you were suppressing all these years, it's not even your age. It's just like the realization. We all go through that, like a certain epiphany, whereby we kind of are able now to not be ashamed of what we have done, and yeah, so yeah, I'm glad that you're sharing that, and I
Mhm.
feel privileged that you're willing to talk about that, and for sharing that. You have, because like what I said to you earlier, I review all the videos that you have done, and you shared a very special thing to the
Yeah.
audience today, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your honesty.
No, absolutely. I think I'm still there's a sense of still confusion I have to work out through because I think there are times where people ask me when was my first experience, and my answer was always 17 because that is the first experience I can think of and acknowledge. But the things that happened when I was much younger, and they were, again, it was someone my age. It's really not that horrible, but I think I was meant to feel so ashamed and so disgusted by it that I kind of need to figure that out and can deal with it myself now.
Yeah,
So,
because I
anyways,
think when you mentioned in some of your videos that uh, when was the first time and you said 17, maybe you were alluding or referring to when was that you were a willing participant, that you were welcoming, as opposed to what you just shared at the age of 13. It's really a confusion age. It's we're building our character, we're building our what
that's
we
a
know
child.
and what we were told.
Yeah, my nephew now is 11. So when I think about him 3 years from now, he's still a child. So I was,
We're all a child at the age of 13, especially during that time.
if there's anything that I take away from that, though, it's just that shame is such an immensely huge burden. And I don't think there's anything good that comes from giving that much shame to a child. It's just
Yeah,
so horribly wrong. You are, they are inside their developing age, right? Their formative years where that amount of torture is going to change who they are for the rest of their life. And
correct. It's a formative, yeah, formation years.
so I have a lot of love for my parents now. I think we've all
I'm
come a
so
long
glad.
way.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
But that is essentially a big part of that journey there. And I think everything that happened after the age of 17, at least I was becoming an adult and able to deal with it somewhat better. But the things there's just, I think anything before that, um, I was just so much of a child. I still have to,
It
yeah,
seems like you're at this point of your life, you're really maturing.
I'd like to think
Some
so.
people we mature because of our age or our looks, but in your case, the way you're thinking now, you are treading into the world of adulthood in so
Better late
many
than
ways.
never.
Huh?
Better late than never in terms of
Well, it's
adulting.
never late. It's never late. It's always in present time. But that's good. I'm glad that we had this talk, and I am so amazed on this interview because not only we have, it's really more like when we post this for the show, it will be really up close and personal. Not only we talk about stay, we talk about your past life, your present life, where you want to take it, and then your new career, which was not part of your horizon before, and look how successful you are. And I like all the takeaways that our audience, well, even I mean, I learned so much about you with all the things that I've seen, with all the things that I've reviewed, with all the things that I viewed. I mean, I have so much respect for you and what I have, the conversation is amazing. So thank you so much. And I know our audience will pick up so much lessons in life and something that they could learn from the mistakes, or if you call it the mistakes, but learn how you pick up the pieces and move on.
Thank you, Sir Josh. I also want to take a minute to say thank you for being you and doing as much research as you did, because I don't know that I've ever walked into an interview and had somebody know what to ask, I guess, care to have found out enough about what I've said previously to be able to ask all those questions with such specificity as you'd have. And it's it was nice to have that with someone with that much grace. So thank you.
Coming from you, I thank you, and it's a privilege because, like what I said, I reviewed, I kind of know you like the back of my hand, even where you went and all that. Because it's a I want to make sure that it's a respect that I give to my interviewee, because I want to make sure that it's not like lame questions. Because if somebody will interview, how would I feel if a crazy or shallow question will be asked of me? I will be very disrespected. Like in your case, you have so much to share. An hour, 2 hours show is not enough to talk about all the things that I uncover and would like to ask. Maybe not part of the show. Maybe in the future we will chit chat. And about life itself, because I think you have so much to give to the world. Regardless of what
Appreciate that.
people would say about you, you have a wealth of experiences, good and bad, that you could help other people, motivate other people, inspire other people, and you could be a mentor in some ways to tell them, okay, this is what happened to me. You don't have to emulate it, but if you could take that from whatever you call it bad, or it's something that is profound, then take it so it would not happen to you. Or if it's happening to you, this is how you would have handled it better than you ever did. I think that's one of the things that you could share to people in the future, whether privately or publicly. Yeah, maybe you could be a public speaker on your experiences.
I appreciate all of that. And thank you, thank you, thank you again.
But again, thank you so much for your time, because I know I took so much of your time. I think it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock now in Atlanta. So, and it's been we were talking, and I know there's not enough time to be covering more of this. But again, privileged, blessed, and it's thank you for allowing us to get to know more about Sebastian Castro, or Benjamin Brian Castro. So,
Yeah.
or Seb Castro, it is such a privilege. So for our viewers and our listeners as well, I can't thank you enough. And like what I said to you earlier, it would be a privilege. We have a special guest, and without a doubt, we have heard, we have seen, and with all the conversation, we were able to be blessed with such a very experienced, profound, intelligent, well-rounded personality. And I know we will see a lot of this guy of Sebastian Castro moving forward. I can't wait for other projects that we have or we will see of him. So before we close, I would like every time I close my shows. Tomorrow I have another show. It's Dear Kuya Josh, and it airs all over the country as well as in the Philippines and globally. It's 10 p.m. here in Pacific, and it's 1 o'clock in the Philippines. But every time I close the show, I always tell you to be kind. You can never go wrong with kindness, and any act of kindness that you do to people, it will come back to you in so many ways, in different times and different forms. And with that, thank you so much, and we're signing off for now, but I will see you next week with another fascinating guest. Not, I cannot promise you if it's gonna be as great as this guest that we just had, Sebastian Castro, but definitely something to look forward to, or someone to look forward to. Until next week, you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. You have a wonderful week next week, and God bless us all. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.